feels to me about the time where we reach for a passing drinks trolley, and there it goes. Unfortunately, Susie's going to pick us something rather healthy, I think, from there. What are you going to go for today?
Sounds good. I like it.
Very good. Yep. Hello, Susie. Are you there? Okay, she's disappeared.
No, she's still on the trolley.
Well, what are you going to pick, Matt?
I am going to pick a pint of Carlsberg. Little-known Danish beer. little tradey kind of beer, I think. Yes.
Okay. I'll try one more time. No, she's not there.
No, not there.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter because... Well, it does matter. I'm very sorry to lose our producer. But we'll carry on anyway. Mr. Banks sends in today's confession. Mr. Banks. Father Simon, Brother Matt and Sister Susie, well, maybe not. Mm-hmm. I'll take you back to around 1985. We were living in the West Country in those days and liked to get out and about as much as my meagre wages would allow us to. We had a small car and decided one windy and blustery day to go up to Clifton Downs in Bristol. It's a double shame that we haven't got Susie because this is her territory.
She would know all about that, yeah.
My son Chris was only 5, but had decided to try his hand at kite flying. We had purchased a rudimentary kite during the week previously, and so we were anxious to get it up there, soaring into the wide and open skies. It wasn't a posh one, just, well, quite basic, really. So we parked up and wandered away from the car, leaning into what was quite a strong wind. Good news, we thought. This will be a right goer. Technical term for it's going to fly well. Yeah. When we had gone a fair way from the car, because I didn't want to dive bomb our own car or any other nearby vehicles, I did the obligatory running away from Chris, who was tasked with holding the handle and string and so on. I held the kite and off I loped into what was now almost a gale, or so it seemed to us. The first few attempts failed completely, as you would expect, but on about the 5th try, up the kite went at a considerable rate of knots. It was swooping and diving and turning. We could not believe how good it was. Fantastic fun, Father Simon, I have to say. And shouts of encouragement from the whole family. This wasn't just good, this was M&S good.
Right.
No, so it was really good. Sorry,
it was just very good. Yeah.
It was just a little one for the vicar, in case she's listening.
Yeah.
It wasn't just good, it was really good. Then, in what seemed the far distance, I saw a young woman pushing a large pram. Not a problem, I thought. Then, as she got nearer to us and our stupendous kite, a faint flicker of doubt formed in my mind. The wind was slowing and the kite was losing altitude, not majorly but slowly, but she kept on coming towards us. And then the kite suddenly veered upward and then arrowed towards the ground at an alarming rate. Everything seemed then to go into slow motion. Chris battled to control the kite to no avail. I shrieked, "Get it up, get it up!" He couldn't, and the kite carried on going down. And then the inevitable happened. It crashed straight into the pram.
Oh, no.
There was a moment of calm, and then all hell broke loose. The incumbent child began to scream and roar, much the same as the woman who ran to us with wild eyes. "What have you done? You've killed my child!"
Maybe
I shouted that we hadn't, as the noise showed, in fact, that the child was well and truly alive.
Perfectly fine.
Now the odds of the kite landing where it did are so very long that there was nobody else about. How could this ever happen?
La 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 la.
Ah, but it had. And Susie has joined us fantastically, beautifully. There she is, and singing along.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I've done that bit. In the end, all was well. She turned on her heel, this woman, and with a withering look, headed off with her uninjured sprog. No one was harmed, Father Simon.
Everyone's
just
fine.
a little bit shocked and upset. So I beg forgiveness for the child and its mother in case the child and the mother grew up with a morbid fear of kites. Would that be a thing? Kitophobia or something? I see the funny side of it now, but at the time I felt at least 10 years older, as you can imagine. Chris continued his hobby of kite flying and got to be quite good at it. No more incidents, just this unfortunate one. Can I or we hope to be forgiven? I do hope so. And I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please, for a little bit of forgiveness. I don't know, Sister Susie, did you hear any of that?
Yes, I did. I heard you all the way along. I don't know why it Don't know what happened.
It's a Bristol confession. A Bristol confession with high winds and a kite that attacked a child, but everyone was fine. What do you say, Sister Susie?
Well, exactly. I know the area very well. Obviously, it's not too far away from me. And often when I was on maternity leave, I'd go up there with the pram and the baby, and you know what, I'd just be terrified if something like that happened, and maybe I would have had kitophobia at the end of it. So I'm very, very sorry, but just for the reason of that it could have happened to me,
yes,
I'm not going to forgive.
Mr. Banks, it hasn't gone very well so far. What do you say, Matthew?
Is it just me, or is the onus not really on the mother here to not be pushing her pram into prime kite territory?
What?
You're supposed. I mean, the whole thing is you can't control a kite. It's in the hands of the elements of the wind.
Look up there.
Look up at the kite. That's what everyone says in kite
Control
flying.
it with a string.
Thing. You're with a string, exactly. You can't control it with a string. You've got to pull back on the string, no idea where it's going, and so it's really on you've got to look out. Oh, look out! There's maybe a little boy in the pram. Watch out for the kites. That's what they were all saying. We all remember that at kite school. So for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
What a shambles.
Good to be back.
School.
She should have seen it coming.
She should. Yeah. It's all the mother's fault. Yeah.
All right, it's the people's verdict, please. 61054. Do you forgive Mr. Banks? Yes or no? 61054. More in just a moment. We had a kite flying confession earlier from Mr. Banks, who was trying very hard, but he did arrow his kite into a pram containing a poor defenseless baby, and the baby was perfectly fine. But at the time, understandably, the mother was a little bit upset at Mr. Banks. The people's verdict is in. What do they say?
Not forgiven, says Michael. If you're mature enough to fly a kite, you should be old enough to control it properly and not land it on random people's heads. Poor lady.
True.
But absolutely forgiven, says Dutchy Cat and Ellie Mae in Leicester. It was an act of God and a valuable lesson for the mother, who had no situational awareness. And forgiven, says Tom. Everyone knows on the first day at kite school, you're told to never take your eyes off the kite. They have a mind of their own, and I think the pram driver really needs to take some responsibility here.
The pram driver.
Pram driver, that's what they're called.
Right, I see.
Yep.
Thank you very much indeed. So your confession, if we use yours, you get a smart speaker. Send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, here we go with the drinks trolley.
With the trolley.
There it goes. What are you grabbing? I imagine you were going to do this for us yesterday, but don't waste that research.
Yes.
What are we drinking today, then?
I've rolled it over. Well, I thought the sun's shining and we're getting close to bank holiday, so I've got a can of Lemonata San Pellegrino, very
Nice,
delicious.
very nice.
But I thought classic lemonade. If you got the time on your hands, you could make your own, and it's super delicious. But if not, get
Limonata will be fine. I also think that I should say that today's confession is brought to you with the assistance of Vocal Zone. Because today is a 4 Vocal Zone show.
Here we go, everyone.
So today's confession comes from Terry.
Yeah.
Dear Father Simon, Sister Susie, Sister Holly, forgiving Brother Matthew, and the extended clergy. My confession is one that took place back in the distant 1980s when I lived at home along with my much larger and older brother. Because it will annoy him, we're going to call him Daz.
Daz?
I was about 11 years old, and Daz was in his early 20s. As with most brothers, there were daily fracas, usually on his return from work. The level of violence in these friendly altercations varied, from the occasional dead arm or leg, through to the more severe Daz pleading, "Please don't tell Mum I gave you that black eye. I'll let you use my Walkman for a week."
Excellent.
So it's that kind of family, that kind of technology. It was after one of these don't tell Mum moments that I was sat recovering in my room and playing with a popular Danish modular construction toy and listening to the boyish tones of a young Simon Mayo breakfast show on Radio 1. I'd recorded on my upright cassette player from that morning's show. Delete this, Father Simon, if it wasn't legal. I think we all coped somehow with the copyright infringement.
Yeah.
Seething from the pasting I had just taken, I was looking for a way to avenge myself. It was then I noticed that the buttons on top of my upright cassette player were exactly the same size as the square modular, obviously Lego blocks with 4 bumps on that I had in my hand. and a plan started to form. Daz was making a show of the fact that he was going out to a Halloween party with his mates and wouldn't be back until late. So, cue A-Team style montage of ingenuity and creation. Once Daz had left for his night out of shenanigans and his leather jacket smelling of patchouli oil, I snuck into his room with my cassette player, crawled under his bed and measured the gap between the play button and the bottom of the mattress. Making allowances for a sag in said mattress, once his bulky frame was lying on top of it, I stacked the aforementioned square Lego bricks on top of the cassette player's play button and secured them in place with tape. On top of these blocks, I placed a flat piece to widen the area so that when he was in slumber, the downward pressure of his weight would cause the play button to be pushed down and activated. I then found a black cassette tape and fast-forwarded about 10 minutes into the empty reel, turned the volume halfway down and recorded myself screaming and wailing like a crazed banshee into the microphone, rewound the tape to the beginning and turned the volume to max. Now all I had to do was wait. I'm not sure what time Daz got home, but it was very late. I heard him stumble around in his room. I caught a sniff of the patchouli oil under my door. The light switch was off and then there was silence. After what seemed like an eternity, it started. The sound of very, very loud screaming and wailing, along with the confused screams of Daz coming from his room. I could hear several choice words followed by the sound of Daz crashing and falling over items of furniture and discarded clothing to escape this terror of his room into the safety of the hallway and our mum and dad. His bedroom was apparently possessed by the devil, the omen, demons from hell, the agents of Satan, the angels of Lucifer, and very possibly old Beelzebub himself. Father Simon, I do not seek forgiveness from Daz, as he had some payback due, but rather I seek forgiveness from my hard-working parents, who were in a deep slumber when they were rudely awoken by the sound of crazed howls of Halloween terror coming from my brother's room, followed by the sight of a pale, terrified, confused, slightly inebriated and half-naked Daz in the hallway as they ran out of their bedrooms to his rescue. Father Simon, I would like your forgiveness, please. Well, of course, it's not really up to me. It's entirely up to our esteemed production team. Very good segue.
Fade, well done. Yeah.
Yes.
So I like this because it's very, very ingenious. I mean, who would have thought that propping up a bunch of Lego bricks on top of your cassette recorder, then putting a wider bit in just to make sure that when the mattress sags, it turns on the horror tape. Sister Susie, what do you say?
Yeah, I think Terry's very, very clever there. And you know what? I love that there was Lego in it. I love that he mentioned recording off the radio, because who hasn't done that? Everyone's done that. And I have to say, the fact that he got my forgiveness as soon as he said older brother gave him a black eye. I'm a younger sister. I've got 2 older siblings, and I forever will side with the youngest.
Yes, I suspect there's an awful lot. It depends where you are in the pecking order as to whether people are going to forgive, and that will probably govern Matt's opinion.
Well, it would do normally, but he's the elder brother, and I'm going to forgive. And the reason why is like Susie says, it's the ingenious use of the Lego and the Walkman. I never have thought of using that, but I can imagine the A-Team putting this together. There's another reference from the 80s. I ain't getting on no plane. So for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Are you the elder brother?
I am the elder brother, yes.
And is that really the major significance?
Yes, it is. It is because obviously I was there first, and then the other ones came along later and were apparently cuter than me. But in a way, I was still cute, even though they were, younger than me.
But they ruined your life, basically.
They did. Oh my goodness, they did. Yes.
Okay, so it's the people's verdict, please. Do you forgive Terry? Yes or no? 61054. To get his own back, Terry had a stunt with a cassette player, some Lego, and put them underneath a drunk Daz's bed. It was activated when he slumped down after his Halloween party, and activated a C60 of Terry's wails and screams with hilarious consequences. The people's verdict is in. Who it is?
Not forgiven, says Lucy in Wadebridge. I value my beauty sleep too much. Being awoken to screaming, he must have been terrified. But Caroline says absolutely forgiven. I'm a younger sister, so clever. I'd I'd like to know what the writer does now. Engineer, working for NASA, Formula One, clearly brilliant. And finally, Tim says, forgiven. As the angles from Satan may have been involved, I think rightful justice was served and vengeance turned 90 degrees on the older brother.
I mean, it was okay.
It definitely works.
Anyway, so thank you very much indeed for that. Terry gets the smart speaker. If you fancy one, send us your confession, please, to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk.